Hi, I'm Trisha at Club Scrap, and in today's workshop, we'll be making 8 beautiful 12 by 12 scrapbook pages with our Heartstrings Page Kit. This was a special release kit not automatically shipped to our members, so make sure you grab your collection while supplies last. Let's get started with our workshop. So I have my Heartstrings instructions printed out here. If you're having trouble finding the instructions, you can go to clubscrap.com, find the resources tab, and under that instructions, and this again you want to search under special releases. Again, this is the Heartstrings Page Kit. I've got the collection here, and I'm going to set aside all the ribbon and other goodies that came along with the kit, just isolating the papers. Then I've got my Fiskars guillotine trimmer right here. If you need one of these, we can help you find one. We have them available at clubscrap.com, along with my awesome accordion pocket file. This is an organizer that I use to help us stay on track while we're trimming all the papers required to make a total of 8 pages. So rather than trimming and then assembling and trimming and assembling and going back and forth, we do all the trimming at once. So everything for the first pair of pages will go in the first pocket and so on. If you don't happen to have this, it's totally okay. Just maintain 4 piles every time I reference the pockets. Now this little lip here goes underneath the base of my trimmer, and I have 2 hook and loop dots here to help hold it in place so that it's held upright by the trimmer. You'll have to forgive me for I have a winter cold voice. I have waited a good solid week to film this workshop, but now my deadline's a wait and I have to film it no matter how I feel. So here we go with the Heartstrings Page Kit. Let's start by sorting all of the papers that came in the box in the order that we'll be using them. And that's going to have us starting with 1 sheet of that single heart print. The other one is called the multi-heart. This is the single heart. Take that print and put it face down on a pile. We'll flip the whole thing over later on. Then find 1 of the multi-heart print, okay? Put that face down also. For the plain sheets, you're gonna need 2 pieces of craft. It's kind of hard to mistake those. Put those on your trimmer. And next we'll trim just 2 sheets of the rose paper. Now that rose color, you'll notice right away it has a texture. We've given you 3 of them. We're only gonna take 2 right now. Take 2 of those, texture side down onto your pile. Next up, 1 sheet of the wine. Now this is a smooth paper, only 1 sheet. And then finally 1 sheet of the lighter pink. Take that, followed by now 2 sheets of printed Cutaparts. Now the first one we'll cut is going to have the one with all those just 12-inch strips going across. And then the remaining Cutapart here with all the individual images, journaling prompts, and so on. Put those face down on the stack. Next, grab 2 of the pink that remain. We gave you 3, and now we're down to 2. Now we're down to 0. So 2 pink. And then the remaining single heart print. That's this one for review. Put that face down. Then the remaining sheet of rose. Go ahead and put it texture side down. You'll notice that one side has more of a defined texture than the other. Then let's take the remaining multi-heart print, put that face down, and then 1 sheet of the wine. That should leave you with 2 ivory. So those will be placed next. And that should be it. So turn everything back over again to where we began with the single heart print, and we're gonna get trimming. I'll put the papers to be trimmed to my left, and I usually put the instructions on my right. Okay, let's take this print then, just 1 of them, put it right side up into the trimmer, and let's cut at 7.5. Now, if you're new to measuring, and if I'm going too fast for you, remember that you can go into your YouTube settings. There's a playback option. You can choose the speed and then slow me down to like a 0.75 to really slow me down until you become proficient with our little method here. Another quick tip is to make sure your paper is level at the top ridge of your trimmer base. To find 7.5, I usually find the whole number, and then looking at the 1/4 inch columns we've got marked here, I just go left 2 columns to find 7.5. That's just going to isolate the heart on the single heart print. I always push down on this clear bar as well. Get in the habit of doing that if you aren't already, to make sure the paper doesn't move when we're trimming. Then slide down to 3.5. So 3. And then plus 2 columns left. That's our 3.5. This piece right here is going to be placed in pocket 5 and 6. Now when you do that, make sure you place the paper at an angle like this, and not like that, but at an angle. So you can still see the letters of the file on the left here, and that it's not designed to fit down inside that pocket. The remaining 2 pieces will be used in pages 1 and 2. So I'm just gonna put that also at an angle so I can still see the number 1 and 2. That leaves me with no scraps, and now we're ready to move forward with the multi-heart print, and you can put it in the trimmer so the hearts are on your left. We'll cut at 5 1/4, so that's 5 plus 1 column to the left, 5 1/4, and that's going to isolate our border with all those pretty hearts. Actually, both of these pieces are used in layout 7 and 8, so again, at an angle in the folder there. Next up is craft. We have 2 set aside, but we're only going to trim 1. So make sure you only have that 1 sheet of craft and trim it at 6 inches. Then rotate the 6-inch piece so it's horizontal and cut at 9 4 1/2. You just made 2 pieces that are the same. Those both go in pocket 5 and 6. And then there's this smaller rectangle that fell from the end. We'll trim that at 4. Both of the pieces we made are going to be placed in pocket 7 and 8. You have another 6 by 12. This time we're going to cut it at 8 and 4. You've made 3 pieces that are the same. They're all going in pocket 1 and 2. Grab your next sheet of craft. We'll make a really small piece by trimming at a really large number. That number is 11 3/4. Then slide to 10 1/4 and 6 1/4. Lots of quarters there. Rotate, and this time we'll cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. Taking the 2 pieces we made that are the same size, those are going in pocket 7 and 8. You have a smaller rectangle again that fell from the end. This one we're going to trim at 6 and 3. So 6, 3. You've made 2 rectangles the same size. Those are going to go in 7 and 8. And a small little piece fell from the end. And I'm sorry to tell you that's a scrap. We won't be using it. If you want, you can just, put that right in the garbage. All right, now the next strip that fell, this is 4 by 12 right now. We'll trim it in half at 6. Both of these pieces that are the same go in pocket 3 and 4. This wider strip that remains for pocket 1 and 2. And finally, you've got this narrow skinny guy for 5 and 6. Once again, the only scrap we had was that tiny little 1/4-inch strip. And we're moving on to page 2 of our instructions. Grab 1 sheet of the rose, and this will trim a number of times, so bear with me. 10 3/4. So all the way over here to 10 3/4. 8 1/2, so halfway between the 8 and the 9. 6 3/4. And 4 1/4. Rotate the 4 1/4-inch piece so it's horizontal, and notice that I have not moved any of the other pieces that fell. If you move them, then I no longer know where they are. If you don't move them, then I know, because they're where mine are. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, just try not to move things until I have you move them. Rotate this piece now so it's horizontal and trim at 6 1/4. And this 6 1/4-inch piece goes in pocket 7 and 8. The other piece that fell goes in 5 and 6. Now pick up the piece right from the top of the stack, just the one piece. It should be 2 1/2 by 12. We're going to cut at 10, 7 1/2, 5, and 2 1/2. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. All 4 of them go in pockets 7 and 8. And then you're going to have a small rectangle here that fell from the end. That goes in pocket 1 and 2. Pick up the very next piece. This should be 1 3/4 by 12 in case you've lost track. And we're going to trim this at 11 3/4. 8 and 4 1/4. This longer, skinnier piece plus the first one that fell just now, both of those, they're different sizes. They go in pocket 1 and 2. There's another little strip here that goes in 3 and 4. And there's a teeny tiny little guy. I regret to inform you once again that it is a scrap. I'll get rid of that. The remaining strips that you have, there should be 2 of them, different sizes. They both go in pocket 1 and 2. And we'll move on to the next sheet of rows. This one will trim again at 11 3/4, 10 1/2, and 6 1/4. Again, the pieces are piling up here. I'm always pushing down on the clear bar as a friendly reminder, in case you have forgotten. Rotate the piece in the trimmer and we'll cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. The 2 pieces you just made that are the same go in pocket 1 and 2. Pick up the rectangle that fell here and we'll trim that at 6 and 3. And you've made 2 rectangles the same for pocket 1 and 2, along with a tiny little scrap that we won't be using. This next larger strip that fell will cut at 6 1/4. Take the piece in your trimmer and put it in pocket 1 and 2. And the other larger piece that fell for 5 and 6. Then you have a strip and a really skinny strip. They both go in pocket 1 and 2. We're moving on to the color wine. We'll trim this one at 11 and 5 1/2. Rotate the 5 1/2 and we'll trim at 10 1/2. 7, 3 1/2. You have 3 pieces here that are all the same size. Those are going to go in pocket 3 and 4. And you have a narrow strip here. We'll trim at 4 and 2. That makes 2 pieces that are the same. Those are going to go in 3 and 4. And this little square, yes, I used it, in pocket 7 and 8. This next strip here, we're going to trim at 8 and 4. It gives me 3 pieces the same size. Place them all in pocket 5 and 6. And you have a strip here for 7 and 8. Moving right along to our pink, we'll cut this one at 6 1/4. Rotate and trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. Take the 2 pieces that you just created that are the same. They go in pocket 3 and 4. And then you've got this rectangle here. We're going to trim this a little differently than usual, so just be listening. We'll cut this at 4. Place this piece in pocket 3 and 4. And you have a small rectangle. We're going to trim this in half at 1 3/4. Now, when you do that, I know that this is covering that measurement. Just try to find that 1 3/4 inch mark. Still support it with your fingertip here. And you're able to get those 2 pieces to come out. They'll be the same size, and those are going to go in pocket 3 and 4. This next strip here will trim at 11 1/4. 7 1/2, 3 3/4. And that's going to give me 3 pieces that are the same size for pocket 3 and 4. Plus you will find this little guy that fell from the end. We're using him in 7 and 8. Here we have our printed Cutaparts. I love the art style that Jacqueline put on here with the torn edges. Just remember that the Cutaparts need to be trimmed from the outer perimeter to create that 12 by 12. And if we have our commercial printer do this, the variance that can occur when that happens can cause some problems with accuracy down the way, like the butterfly effect, in other words. So if you look and you'll find that little mark there in the corner, I'm going to try to get that near the edge of my, outside edge of my stainless steel blade. Now I cut a little shy of that mark kind of on purpose because initially the paper is so large that I can't really see where the blade lands down at the bottom corner of that print. So now when I rotate to trim this edge, I actually can see the edge of the blade here at the top and at the bottom. So I'll shave that off. I'm going to rotate again and really get that lined up nicely. Rotate again. This time I should be able to look at my 12. That lines up nice. And then rotate again and I'll cut at the 12. And that just takes off a shaving. The initial shy cut that I made, it kind of cleans it up. And then these pieces you can get rid of. And then I want you to start trimming this artwork so that the narrowest strips are on the right. And our first number here should come in at 11, and that's going to bring the blade right between the pieces of art. Then 10, 9 1/4, 8 1/2, 6 1/4, and 4. The 4-inch piece, let's place that in pocket 3 and 4. And then this, you have everything you need, and the next one when you love what you have. So both of these pieces, pocket 5 and 6. We have 2 of these little heart borders. Those go in 7 and 8. And then the final 2 strips go in pocket 1 and 2. Here's our next sheet of Cutaparts. We need to give it the same little perimeter treatment. So I'm just gonna chop off that outer edge and you go ahead and do the same. And if you need to pause the video while you work on that, that's totally fine. And then once you have that whole edge cut off, we'll come back and finish trimming it into pieces. Okay, before we start cutting, I want you to make sure that there's this border strip here on the right. And the first number is 10 1/2. You can double check that the blade is going between the pieces of art. And 9, 7, and 4. Rotate the 4-inch piece and trim at 10 1/2. And 7. The 7-inch piece goes in pocket 7 and 8. And then this oval, 5 and 6. For the tag, totally up to you, but if you wanted to, you could just lob off those triangles from the corner of the tag shape. And that's going to go in pocket 1 and 2. Pick up the next strip and place it in the trimmer so those journaling prompts are all on the right. And we'll cut at 10, and 8, and 6. Grab scissors, and basically we're just going to take out this heart that is not red. And he's going to go in pocket 3 and 4. If you want to separate these other hearts, we won't be doing the fussy cutting right now. But all 3 of them go in pocket 1 and 2. For the tags, it's the same thing. If you want to lob off the corners, you can. The first one, it's a vertical journaling prompt. That goes in 5 and 6. Then you have a horizontal for 1 and 2. The other horizontal tag going in 7 and 8. This strip here that says a lifetime is not long enough to love you, that's 1 and 2. And then we have this strip here. Make sure the word love is on the right. We'll cut at 9 1/2, 7, and 3 1/2. This piece, Do Small Things with Great Love, pocket 1 and 2. With All My Heart, and the next one, both 3 and 4. And the final one that says Love, that's 7 and 8. This strip here, 3 and 4. And that was our last thing that needed to be placed. Congratulations, phase 1 is complete. Well, it's really phase 2. We sorted the papers, then we trimmed the papers, and now we're going to dry fit the papers. Swap out your trimmer here. I'm going to lock the blade, support the accordion pocket file while I get rid of that trimmer. From now on, your accordion pocket file should stay on its back. In classrooms, a lot of times I see people leave it up, and then it's just not meant to be, okay? You risk losing things on the floor or dropping them, and we don't want that. And we still have a stack of paper here, right? Those are going to be the bases of all of our pages. What I want you to do is in your instructions, turn to the very last page, which is page 4. And at the bottom of page 4, you're going to see some words that say layouts 7 and 8, the bottom half. It lists all the ingredients on that page. And then it tells you the first, right out of the gates, that the bases of the page are pink. I happen to have pink paper right here. So we're going to dry fit all of our layouts from layout 8 up to layout 1 without any adhesive, and then come back. You can, on your own time, while you're watching, your favorite rom-com, you can stick everything down right where you want it to be and then add your pictures. It's going to be amazing. So let's just do this dry fit phase together. Take the top sheet of the pink that you have and then slide it to the right. The remaining entire stack of paper will be on your left. So right in front of me, I have the base for layouts 7 and 8. And beneath this, the bases for all the other pages in the proper order. How cool is that? Next up, I need to empty the pocket labeled 7 and 8. So make sure you get everything out of there to avoid confusion. And if something got misfiled along the way, it's totally fine, because now you'll be able to sort that all out. And I'll walk you through all of this. So we're going to start out by adding this part of the heart print across the top edge of the layout. And then this piece, we're going to add to the left edge of the right page. Notice that I have all of the things from the pocket in my left hand, and then I'm using my right hand to distribute, just as if I was dealing out a hand of cards. I can take this red, or this wine-colored strip rather, and place it right underneath this border, and then nest it with the heart border. I'll add another just plain heart border here on the right. I didn't add a wine strip to this because I wanted to use this large piece of artwork, and the heart strip would have just made it too wide. Beneath this, I have another piece that fits right in there. Then take one of the larger rose photo mats. That's going to go midpoint here. And then you've got 2 crafts. So the first craft photo mat's going to go kind of near the bottom with about 1/4 of an inch of a reveal. And then just right above that, we'll put the second piece. You have 2 craft mats that are kind of the same size. They are the same size. Those are going to be like tilted, and in the upper half of this side, you've got 4 rose-colored squares. Those should fit right in here. And then this larger remaining piece of craft is going to nest with the word love. I'm going to show you some fun tricks I did with that. This little piece right here, I took scissors and just trimmed a little V into the short edge. I do this a lot, so if you're like, oh yeah, I know this. I know this trick. This is how I save things from becoming scraps. You can just slide that right behind here for a little anchoring, a little adding of color. Cute, right? Now this guy, if you happen to have a postage stamp punch or a die, maybe a heart-shaped die or any kind of a shape punch, you can spare this and use it, or you can skip it. I'll show you what I did, but I basically punched a little postage stamp out of it and placed it right there. And then you have your tag that gets placed right in that spot. I took my slot punch and I punched a slot right into the end of the tag after I clipped the corners and threaded it with some ribbon to swing that around to the back. So if you need a slot punch, we have those here at Club Scrap. I absolutely love mine and use them for almost every project I do. Okay, so on the finished page here with everything attached, you can see I added this with foam adhesive to give it a little bit of spunk, and then threaded it with that stunning 1-inch ribbon with that Harlequin pattern. Isn't that pretty? To balance out the space I had here at the bottom of the page, I took a series of 6 little hearts from the strip of the heart trim and just added it there with bookbinding glue. So easy. On the facing page, I had some fun building a little collage here. I started out by wrapping the left edge of the craft paper with that pretty ribbon. Isn't that pretty? And then to make the staple look kind of fun, I did a crisscross staple there. This is using the tiny attacher from Tim Holtz, and I have that linked on my Amazon link page, which we just newly created here. There's that cute little, I did a stamp die cut, but I also have a stamp punch. Either would work. And top that with a heart. Isn't that just the sweetest little thing? And you can see this was attached with foam, again, just to give a little bit of dimension. So that is layout 7 and 8. Now, this is what you have in front of you. You can leave it just as it is, or if you wanted to finish it right now, you could, but I just advise that you pick up the light pink paper, just that one sheet, and slide the whole contents over to the right. Then take the very next piece and slide it over. And that's going to give me the base for layouts 5 and 6, as you will see right in your instructions here. This is the map that I'm following. Do you have to do the map? No. You can put everything on the pages exactly as you wish. But this is a wonderful place to start. I hope you agree. Now we have this printed strip. I'm going to add it to the left edge of the left page. Now at the top, when you love what you have, about an inch from the top edge. And then across the bottom, you have everything you need. Directly above that, I'm going to put this little strip of the craft colored paper. A quick tip for you for finishing is once you adhere, these pieces, don't apply glue to the strip. Take your needle tip applicator of our Bookbinding Glue. Hopefully you have yourself set up with this. Run the nozzle along the edge of this strip after it's glued down, and that will dispense a nice thin line of adhesive, and then bring this piece to the adhesive by placing it down. Works like a charm. Okay, now in between there we can add this, they're kind of stubby, a stubby little piece of this wine. It fits in there so nicely, if I do say so myself. Now on the right side, I've got a piece of craft, 2 of those. I centered them from the top and bottom, and then nested them with the rose-colored paper. And that's just kind of a balance of color. You got the rose-colored background here, and then the rose is brought over with the photo mats, bringing over the wine with that photo mat there. I added a 3-part bow with the stunning ribbon here. Now to make a 3-part bow, I have a whole video called Ribbon Basics on YouTube, so you can find that. I use this a lot, so maybe think about mastering a 3-part bow if you haven't already. I love doing a 3-part bow with the wide ribbon because it's so striking. You'll see in a moment. This added the slot and a loop of the wide ribbon as well to balance. Here I just tore the paper to make that shape and placed it here. From your embellishments, you're going to find this really pretty gold intertwined hearts. Now the back is blue. It has a film on it. I already peeled mine away. So peel away the blue film, apply your glue to that, and then you can place that right there. So on the finished page, there's my 3-part bow, part 1, part 2, part 3. So sweet. And then over on the facing page, you can see my slot. I've clipped the corners, added with foam adhesive, tore the edges, and added my hearts. All of that with Bookbinding Glue here as well. Okay, easy peasy. Love how this page turned out. I'm going to pick up the rose base, slide it over, and yes, that moved. It's fine. Then I'm going to pick up the heart border, multi-heart print, slide that to the right, and empty pocket 3 and 4. Make sure you grab that little heart that you cut out in there. And I'm going to reverse my way through the instructions back to page 3 and look at the bottom here. And let's see what we've got. Now, I went ahead and even tore these edges more. You can also distress them like with a paper distressing tool, or you can leave them just as they are because they look really cool. So those 2 strips go across the top and bottom edge of your page. You'll have a series of 3 pink mats that are the same. 1, 2, 3. And you should have a series of 3 wine-colored mats that nest onto the pink. And the pink really makes it pop. The wine brings over the color from the other side. And then grab a pink and craft to nest, and a pink and a craft to nest. And when you do that, this nesting and this tilting, just be careful that one overlaps the other and that the corners of the photo mat don't touch the edge of the strip, okay? That creates a tangent we want to avoid. Same thing here. I don't want the corner touching the edge of the page. Just kind of keep adjusting until you have avoided all of the tangents. Now in your kit you have these really sweet little tags with the hearts. I did save the heart that popped out somewhere. It's somewhere over here. It may have fallen on the floor. Yeah, they fell on the floor. So if you have them and you could save them, great. If not, it's not a big deal. I did place 2 of the hearts here. I inked the edges of the heart with earth ink and then put one right here. So sweet. But then the tag themselves, I decided to leave them open. And it just so happens that there's a pink and there's a wine colored mat that fit. I thought that was so cool. And because the corners of the tag are rounded, I went with the radius 4 on my punch. That's the smallest punch size on the 3-in-1. It kind of matches the radius on the tag itself. And I nested this. I added some of the twine and placed that right here. How cute is that? I did the same thing with the other pairing of nested pieces. You're going to round those corners on the R4. Just 2 on the long edge here. Nest them together and add them. Add your twine, and that's going to go right about here. Now this piece of pink should fit, and lo and behold it does. Now what I advise here is make sure that you maybe just attach it at the bottom with a little bit of bookbinding glue so that you can slide a picture in here and have it, not, if you glue under here, you won't be able to get a picture in that spot. Maybe you don't want a picture in that spot. I don't know. This should nest here. Oh, look at that. And tuck. Oh, how easy is this cute little situation? Trim your heart. That can go here. You're just building a little sweet collage. And then this last one goes here. And, you can use this heart trim together in a row, or you can just trim one heart and you can put them anywhere. It'd be so cute. So just use them liberally. I had plenty left over when I was done. I'll probably use those on some handmade cards. So to look at the finished pages, oh my goodness. Just see, I just threaded this twine through there. I mean, how cute is that? Check this out. Adorable. I inked the edges, a little bit of earth. Should have done that one. That would have been cute too. Either way, love how it turned out. And then over here, same thing. I inked the edges, added the twine, inked the edges of the hearts. Boy, I should have added maybe one of these guys. That would have been really super sweet. Right on the top. Adorable. Either way. And I added one here as well. So that is layout 3 and 4 already. And if I just pick up the base, this wine colored paper, and slide it over to the right, and then that leaves me with 2 ivory. So I'll slide the top ivory to the right, and that's going to give me the base for layout 1 and 2. Right? That's the only thing we have left in our accordion pocket file. Or if you were using piles, this will be your last pile. The wide single heart, it's going to go on the left. That's why I like to use one print typically as the base of a page, and the other print I cut it in a way that makes sense, and then I split it and put it on the opposite side just to kind of add coordination but also variety. This piece then was used at the top edge here. And then we're going to do all kinds of fun things, like take this strip, line it up. Here we've got a wider strip of the rose that's going to nest with this border, and a wider strip of craft plus rose plus border kind of near the bottom. But let's see where that's going to be placed. If you take the rose, and you're going to say, what's going on here? I'll show you in just a second. These two rose pieces, they nest with craft. And then this will go underneath that to kind of frame it in nicely. This open space is going to get a piece of this stunning velvet. Oh, look at that. So pretty. Now I'm going to tell you a trick about the velvet in a minute. So just sit tight on that, okay? Let's distribute the rest of our goodies. We have a wide strip of rose to go with that last border. Here will be our rose photo matte vertical with a nesting craft, and then 2 rows on the side. We've got our final tag. I actually did close the tag and put this little piece of rose inside to change the color. That kind of went there. You can leave it open or closed. You've got a long strip of rose that should fit with the tag here. Trim off your corners, punch a hole and add some ribbon to that. It'll be part of this collage. And then this large heart, once it's out, that's going to line up with the heart printed right in the Cutapart, as well as this heart matches. And then I finished with this heart down at the bottom. Once it's fussy cut, clip your corners, punch a hole, add some twine to the tag, and then these, your last piece of rose and your last Cutapart nest, that's going to go over here. To talk about the finishing touches here, I did use quite a bit of foam adhesive here, 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 and here. No, just 1, 2, 3 on these 3 items. This is glued directly to the layout. This is tucked under the heart, so I can still open it and I can tuck it back under. I have the row of the heart trim added to the page here. I used a paper distressing tool to kind of rough up the edges of this, totally optional. On the facing page, this is the final page, number 1. This was added with foam adhesive and a single heart from the trim. Now here, because of the loft of my velvet ribbon, I trimmed a piece that ended here and ended here, and I just took some bookbinding glue to seal the fibers at the end to keep them from fraying. And I did the same thing here. It's just trimmed. It's not wrapped around to the back at all. And then I just put a bead line of our bookbinding glue on that. It dries clear and it keeps it from fraying and it keeps it from being too bulky because that velvet ribbon has some loft. Okay, now that we've kind of stepped through the pages, you're at a point where you could do one of 2 things. You can take these pages and slide them into the bag that your kit came in, add the instructions, any remaining ribbon embellishments which you have. You can just put that all together in the bag so you know it's there. Set it aside until you plan to go to a crop. All you have to do is bring your adhesive, a few basic tools, and you can sit with your friends putting your pages together and you'll just completely amaze them. So all of the mental hard work is behind you. Now it's just the fun of putting everything together, like fixing a puzzle, and then you can add your pictures. So a lot of people have so much success when they take this approach and then go to a crop and they're so productive. I just saw online one of our members completed over 100 pages in a weekend because she was so prepared by using this method. So while you're here, make sure you hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. I promise my voice will be better on my next video and when I can bring healthy Trisha to work day. And if you're not subscribed to Club Scrap as a member, consider joining us. You'll save $8 on kits and you'll save on everything else as well. We'd love to have you as a member. Remember, you don't have to be a member to shop. So thank you again for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon in another Club Scrap workshop. Have a good one.